Welcome back to my channel, everyone. Alright, without further ado, let us dive straight into the recap of Tsukimichi, Moonlit Fantasy Part 55. Alright guys, in the previous part, Makoto finally showed just how massive the gap in power was between him and the goddess apostle. Even Alte's escape to Limia could not save her from Makoto's attacks. That incident left Hibiki and the goddess apostles completely shocked, while also making them start to become wary of Makoto's existence. So, in this part, the main focus is on the end of Shige's war against Aeon, the recognition of Shige's independence, and how this new nation begins to be viewed by various parties. On the other hand, there is also a lighter section where Makoto starts to learn about the existence of Tomoe and Mio's fan groups, which have apparently developed far more seriously than he ever imagined. Now, let us continue to part 55. The story begins when Makoto has already run out of arrows. Since he is still worried about Tomoe and Ehma, he decides to return to Asura right away. When he arrives there, Makoto sees that Ehma has been affected by several abnormal status effects. However, unlike Ehma, Tomoe actually looks extremely excited because Makoto managed to kill Alte. After Makoto's wounds are healed, he goes to Shige that night. The atmosphere in the city feels like a festival. Makoto himself does not know whether that atmosphere was intentionally created to hide the tragic condition of the enemy side, or whether it was meant to provoke them instead. But what is clear is that the event also serves to restore the morale of Shige's forces. After that, Makoto goes to meet Rembrandt. When the two of them meet, they start talking about many things, from the war to various plans for the future. From that conversation, it is also revealed that Rembrandt seems to want to build an entertainment world in Shige. After hearing all of Rembrandt's stories and wild plans, Makoto feels that this man is far more dangerous than Alte. Speaking of Alte, Makoto confirms that the goddess apostle will never return again. He destroyed her body, magical energy, and soul until nothing was left. All of that was payback because Alte dared to hurt Ehma and Tomoe, and even insulted Ehma by calling her a pig. On the other hand, Makoto also feels that Shige's victory in this war is already certain. Many monsters are already prepared to be sent outside the walls, while more and more Ion soldiers are surrendering and choosing to join Eshige City. At this point, the winner is already clear. Ion's army continues to be forced into the same cycle of torture. During the day, they are bombarded by ritual magic. At night, they are attacked by wasteland monsters. Then in the morning, they are greeted by magical explosions once again. Finally, on the 7th day, the morale of Ion's army completely collapses. They run away from the battle at Shige's outer wall. Not long after that, a letter and an official envoy arrive from the kingdom of Aeon. At that time, Rembrandt and Morris are having a conversation, while Rembrandt reads the contents of the letter from Aeon. The letter states that Aeon has finally recognized the independence of Shige City. After learning this, Rembrandt naturally feels very happy. Actually, according to his original plan, Shige was not supposed to become independent in such a short time. However, because of Makoto's intervention, that independence arrived much faster. In other words, Shige City was able to become independent sooner because of Makoto's actions. Rembrandt is truly happy because Makoto made the entire process much easier. After that, Rembrandt and Morris begin discussing their next steps. After independence, there will naturally be a lot of major work that must be done to welcome Shige's future. Morris then mentions that the movements of the other nations feel extremely fast. They have started wanting to visit Shige, and Morris suspects that this is happening because Limia or Gritonia is involved behind the scenes. He also brings up the disappearance of the goddess apostle as one of the factors causing this situation. Rembrandt casually responds that Limia may be moving because the new member of their hero party has a connection with the goddess. He is also certain that Makoto has taken care of the goddess apostle, just as he promised. However, Rembrandt forbids Morris from finding out how Makoto did it, because asking how Makoto solved their problem would be rude in his eyes. Morris agrees and feels extremely grateful. At first, Rembrandt had predicted that Makoto's battle against the goddess apostle would cause many casualties on Shige's side. He had even predicted that the outer wall would be destroyed and the logistics supplies would be contaminated. His initial estimate for casualties was around 1,000 to 1,500 people. However, contrary to expectations, there was no damage at all, and there were no deaths on Shige's side. Rembrandt laughs loudly. He then corrects himself and says that there were actually casualties, which were around 300 to 500 members of the sect and revolutionary forces who disappeared without a trace. The report said that they were slaughtered completely until the flow of information became chaotic. Rembrandt truly feels completely defeated by Makoto's incredible performance. In short, 4 weeks after the war ended, Shige was finally officially recognized as an independent nation. On that day, envoys from various countries gathered in the plaza to hear that major announcement. In front of the envoys, Shige declared 2 major promises to the world. First, they would become a shield that protects many people from the threat of the wasteland. Second, they would not use their power to attack humans or demi-humans. However, if any side attacked first, Shige would retaliate aggressively in order to maintain its role as a protector against the threats of the world. Of course, that statement sounded quite strange to the envoys. Shige also emphasized that they did not like war and would not start a war. However, if another country colonized or attacked first, then Shige would definitely take action and fight back. Hearing that, the representative from Limia considers all of those statements to be nothing but nonsense. If Shige truly did not want to start a war, then they should not have taken the step toward independence, which could clearly trigger a war. Especially in the current situation, a war between humans would only harm many sides, because humanity is basically facing a major war against the demon race. So if humans end up fighting other humans, their resources will be drained even further. Here the merchant Muzo explains the reason Shige chose independence. All of it happened because of Aeon's incompetence in managing the Shige region. In short, the previous rulers thought too much about their own profits, from taxes that were far too high to various policies that suffocated the people. Now, from that disappointment, Shige finally decided to become independent. They were already sick of leaders who only sought personal gain. Shige's executive merchants also continued to explain the failures of the previous rulers, who had oppressed the people too much. The injustice in that region had become so severe that the only path left was revolution and independence. However, Aeon's side naturally could not accept being called incompetent in managing Shige. Aeon's representative accused Shige's merchants of bribing the nobles, until many useless nobles eventually appeared. In response to that, Rembrandt explains that bribery can happen anywhere, and it is usually done by a small number of people. However, that is exactly why a nation should act immediately to deal with the problem. In reality, Aeon stayed silent instead, until those nobles oppressed the people of Shige even further. Rembrandt also emphasizes that if Aeon had acted quickly from the beginning to eliminate the corrupt nobles, this war would never have happened. After all, Shige had already become a center of trade and provided a huge amount of tax revenue for Aeon. However, in reality, Aeon only stayed silent and enjoyed that money without truly protecting the people of Shige. After that, Rembrandt says that there is no need to keep discussing the problems of the past. Right now, Shige has already become a nation, so it would be better if Aeon accepted their defeat and forgot their grudge against Shige. According to Rembrandt, both sides should start from zero in order to maintain peace between nations. Hearing that, Aeon's representative looks extremely irritated. To them, their defeat in this war has made Aeon look like a loser in front of the other nations. Not long after that, Gritonia's representative begins to speak. From the war they have observed, Gritonia has learned that Shige possesses several types of magic that are unknown to other parties. Because of that, they hope Shige will share their knowledge of magic for the sake of peace and for the war against the demon race. Rembrandt explains that Shige obtained that extraordinary magic by purchasing information. He cannot reveal the source of the information, but as for the magic itself, Rembrandt does not mind sharing it with the public if that magic is truly needed. In short, the representatives of the nations and Shige's executives begin discussing the future together. Meanwhile, Makoto receives a guest named Ades Batoma. Ades comes to meet Makoto because she wants to learn archery. Of course, Makoto happily accepts her request. Since Makoto loves archery very much, he is always open to anyone who wants to learn archery from him. Makoto also explains that he is an archery teacher at the White's orphanage, so if Ades wants to learn, she can come directly to that orphanage. Not long after that, Mio suddenly arrives while bringing tea. Seeing Mio appear, Ades immediately looks panicked and becomes extremely nervous. Makoto then introduces Ades to Mio. After they talk for a moment, Mio finally leaves. After that, Ades and Makoto continue their conversation. Ades then tells Makoto about the existence of Mio's fan group and Tomoe's fan group. Hearing that, Makoto immediately feels a headache coming on. It turns out that those two groups have grown very rapidly. It is also revealed that Ades has actually joined both groups. Even so, Ades still likes Mio more than Tomoe. At this moment, Ades continues talking about Mio and Tomoe's fan groups. However, Makoto starts refusing to listen to any further explanation. Even so, Attes becomes even more excited and continues her story anyway. It turns out that Tomoe and Mio are not the only ones who have many fans. Shiki, Aqua, and Eris also have their own fans. To Attes, all of them are natural idols, so it is only natural that many people admire them. Attes herself even feels inferior when compared to their popularity. Makoto is naturally surprised because Attes suddenly starts discussing and comparing someone's level of popularity. Attes then becomes curious about how Makoto was able to create so many famous people who are admired by many others. According to Attes, it is natural for her to be famous because she does work as an idol whose goal is to entertain people. However, the people in the Kuzunoha company are not entertainers. Even so, for some reason, they are still highly respected and famous. That is why Attes wants to know how Makoto was able to make them become like that. Makoto then explains that the fame of the people in the Kuzunoha company is different from the fame of idols or entertainers. Attes works as an idol, and an idol's fame is usually created for the purpose of product marketing or advertising. So the fame of the Kuzunoha people and the fame of idols are two different things, with different purposes as well. In addition, the existence of idols can also become something that makes a country more widely known. After talking for quite a while, Attes finally leaves. However, because of that conversation, Makoto becomes curious and intends to investigate both Mio's fan group and Tomoe's fan group. Makoto then goes to meet Lime to look for information about those two groups. However, unexpectedly, it turns out that Lime is the consultant for both fan groups. Hearing that, Makoto feels even more troubled. After that, Lime takes Makoto into the headquarters of one of the groups. Its location is actually inside the Adventurer Guild. Of course, Makoto hides his face so he will not be recognized. Even to enter that place, they have to use a password, so not just anyone can get in. Lime is welcomed by the people at Tomoe's fan group headquarters. They also look happy when Lime brings a new person, whom they assume will join as a Tomoe fan. It turns out that Tomoe's fan group has its headquarters in a warehouse rented from the guild. Here, it is also revealed that the Kuzunoha company does rent several warehouses to deceive thieves. Because Kuzunoha's goods sell extremely well, many people are naturally interested in stealing their products. That is why they prepare fake warehouses as traps. Even though the warehouse is fake, the security is real. So, if any thief tries to break in, they will be beaten up immediately. In other words, those thieves are only doing something pointless, because they do not know that the warehouse is empty and is only used as a decoy. Around this warehouse area, Mio and Tomoe's fan groups rent their own spaces, even dividing their respective territories. Long story short, Makoto finally arrives at Tomoe's fan headquarters. However, he is immediately shocked when he sees what is inside. At first glance, the place looks like a gambling den. Lime then explains that the place is not actually a gambling den. It is true that the games there resemble gambling games, but what they bet is not money. The fans created Tomoe coins called Tomoemon. Those coins are distributed by the higher-ups of the fan group and shared fairly. After that, they play using those coins. Tomoemon coins also have many uses, especially for things related to Tomoe merchandise. To obtain those coins, the fans must provide information or items that were once used by Tomoe. There is even an auction there for items that Tomoe once used. Because of that, the headquarters of Mio and Tomoe's fan groups are located near the Kuzunoha company's warehouse. Seeing all of this, Makoto feels truly overwhelmed and thinks that the fans have gone too far. In short, Makoto begins investigating what Tomoe's fan group has been doing. After he is satisfied with checking everything and making sure that Lime, along with several others, continues to monitor the club so it will not cause trouble, Makoto asks Lime to continue the inspection at Mio's fan club. As they leave the warehouse area and head toward the city center, an idea suddenly appears in Makoto's mind. He asks Lime why Tomoe's fan club does not hold pottery-making activities, even though Tomoe really loves that hobby. Hearing that idea, Lime is immediately startled and praises Makoto as a genius. Makoto then suggests that Lime should start introducing pottery art to Tomoe's fans. Not only would it make Tomoe happy, but it could also create amazing works of art from Shige, which could later become a source of stimulation for the residents of Asura. So, that is the recap of part 55 from Tsukimichi, Moonlit Fantasy. What do you think? Pretty interesting, right? In the middle of the war ending and Shige's independence being recognized, Makoto's position feels even greater, even though he does not always stand at the center of the stage. From Alte's destruction, Shige's victory, and the rise of Tomoe and Mio's fan groups that keep growing even further, everything shows that Makoto and the Kuzunoha company's influence has now spread much wider. For now, there is nothing else that needs to be explained. because everything is already moving toward an even bigger development in the next part.